All right, I'm here with the least valuable guest we've ever had on the show. Head writer over at cheesehead.tv, is that right, Justice Mosqueda?
Jesus Christ. AcmePackagingCompany.com. How dare you?
Former employee of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Justice Mosqueda.
Incorrect. Vince McMahon.
Yeah, Vince McMahon.
Yeah, Dwayne bought it after.
Oh, okay. Okay, so part of the reorganization was that he fired you.
He bought it off of bankruptcy after we were already let go. But
okay.
I'm okay with saying that. Yeah.
Okay. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I had a pretty good Christmas. Got my grandma one of those electronic picture frames. Loaded that up with photos.
Nice.
She really liked it, so
Classic.
that kind of like made my day. So
that's awesome. What'd you eat?
Oh man! So breakfast. I was at the girlfriend's house. We had what do you call it? Dutch babies and bacon, which are really good.
Nice.
So that's cool. And then at 1, I met my mom at a restaurant, and I had like Christmas ham and mashed potatoes and stuff. And then we went up to my grandmother's on my dad's side, and she had a bunch of tamales and pozole and stuff. Didn't have enough room in the tank for that, but brought home so many
there
leftovers.
So. Yeah, hell yeah. That rules, man. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope that's the last good thing that happens to you. We got the Packers-Vikings game coming up.
Dude, your guys' Super Bowl.
It can't be. I mean, the Vikings are ahead in the standings. That doesn't sound right. It feels like it's more your Super Bowl at this point.
It kind of is, but like there's such low stakes for this game on the Packers side. Like it's just seeding.
Are the Packers locked into a seed?
No. So here's how it works. If basically Packers win out, Vikings lose out, they get the 5. Right now they're in the 6. If they lose to Minnesota, it's about 50-50 whether they stay in the 6 or not, or drop to the 7. Because basically Washington can't have more wins than them over the next 2 weeks and them still stay in the 6. That's how they end up dropping to the 7. But like even then, like it's not.
Well, because the 7 takes on the Eagles, right?
Yeah, and Packers fans make it seem like this is some insurmountable team, and I'm like, we almost beat them the first time around. They have Jalen Hurts at quarterback, guys.
We got a lot of frauds with a bunch of wins this year across the NFL, not just the Eagles are one of them.
I agree. I mean, Jalen Hurts is like throws for 200 yards and then it's smirking in press conferences, and it's like, isn't this what you guys wanted to see? I'm like, dude,
that was awesome. The Jalen Hurts discourse has gone like full circle, where someone was like complaining he wore a backwards hat in the press conference, not because it's unprofessional for a quarterback to wear a backwards hat, but because he was too arrogant for what he had done. He didn't deserve it.
I'm trying to look up Jalen Hurts' postseason stats right now. They can't be good.
Hey, his game against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl was legitimately outstanding. It was an incredible
5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The problem is it's come over 5 games.
That's not
88.1 passer rating.
That's definitely not great.
Yards per attempt of 4.25.
Wait, that's his postseason?
Yes.
That's Jesus. Okay. All right.
I was looking at rushing yards per attempt.
I was like, there's no way.
6.6. So not that bad.
Not that great though. But okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
So okay, so for the Packers, it's low stakes. The Vikings, if they win out, get the top seed. So
yes, I understand the stakes for you guys. That's your Super Bowl is actually Week 18. I joke, but
honestly, yeah. That's crazy. We're still going to award the Vikings the linear Super Bowl trophy if they win this game. That's just how it works. But pretty low stakes for 2 10+ win teams in the division late in the season.
I understand. I sound like I'm coping, but isn't this a great example of why you should just not care about division winners and it should just be win percentage to decide seeding in the NFC playoffs. If that were the case, this game would have a whole lot more stakes.
So, okay, but you still would want division winners to automatically make the playoffs, right?
I think, I'm okay with them making it in, but I just don't think that it should impact the seeding, right? And even then, I hold that loosely because, like, people are like, you have to make division winners mean something. And I'm like, I don't know. Does the NFC South actually mean anything this year? Why should it mean anything?
I think anything that kind of accelerates hate between fan bases is good. And so that's kind of why I want divisions to matter, because like you make the rivalries mean a little bit more. So I do want division winners to mean something. I don't know if that necessarily means first game home field advantage. I don't know. But like I feel like you have to, because like the hate is good.
I guess, yeah. And then some Packers fans are like, well, one time we won 10 games and the Giants won 11 and that game played at Lambeau. And I'm like, we lost that game. Why do I care about that? I don't
what did that prove?
Yeah. Also, it's one game. It's not a four. Like the Packers could potentially be the 6th seed with a 13-4 record,
advantage over the 4th seed. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I don't know if it's like the expanded playoffs or, not the expanded playoffs, but the expanded season and stuff. Like the AFC race is boring too, right?
Yes. So I wonder, like. So obviously they would never do this because it's unnecessarily complicated. But for the purposes of seeding, if you just gave division winners a win and then reseeded it based off of that new win percentage, that might be a little bit better.
Yeah, maybe. The other thing too, and I've floated this idea often.
Of course you have.
And
what is it?
It would make great television. And it would accelerate hate, which is one of your favorite.
Oh, wait. Is this? Well, hold on. Let me try to guess this idea. You seed everybody by win percentage, but you don't actually, that's not what the seeding is. The top seed gets to pick who they play.
Correct. You nailed it. You figured me out. Yes. You get a draft who you're playing against. And that solves so many of these issues.
That would lead to
extra content. People
great content. You try to project who's playing who in the playoffs. Yeah. You get a ton of great hate quotient. Automatically, the first team picked gets bulletin board material.
Yep.
Yeah, they would never
good
do
content.
That. Yeah, it's great.
It
content.
Would be good. I don't understand why they would like. Oh, they're gonna be mad. It's like, dude, they want to win a Super Bowl already. Like,
I'm just saying they'd never do that because the NFL is like so stuck. I could see the NBA doing that. The NFL is like stuck.
Well, didn't the NBA kind of like do that with like the All-Star game too? Like they just like.
That's right.
Someone gets picked last in the All-Star game. Like,
that's what I mean. I love accelerating hate. So with that in mind, let's talk about why Jordan Love is bad. What's the case against Jordan Love?
I don't know. Like since Toyotathon, he's been doing great. So
yeah, is Toyotathon still on? Actually,
Toyotathon goes until mid-January, which is perfect.
Mid-January? That's cheating. What?
Yes, Toyotathon goes until mid-January.
Okay, so I googled Toyotathon, and literally the first result is extend Toyotathon. Toyota aware of Jordan Love's bizarre success.
Yeah, they nailed it. Matt LaFleur had to come out and say that he's a GM guy in a press conference.
Oh, wow.
He does not support the Toyotathon. I don't know why he's a GM guy. He didn't elaborate, but yeah, it's a thing.
But that's a good move though, because that's a really Midwest thing to do, is to come out and state your truck preference in a presser.
Yeah, trucks are expensive, man.
All right, so Jordan Love, obviously, I've been wrong on him. I said in the offseason that the most likely outcome is that he's like the 12th to 14th best quarterback or something like that in the NFL. Seems like he's better than that. Where would you put him?
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's below like that, Lamar, Mahomes, Josh Allen tier, right? I think he's probably closer to
that's your clear top three, yeah.
Right. I think he's closer to like a Stafford right now, which is good because I think last year he was closer to a Geno. So slow progress.
Okay, actually, we might. I'm shocked we're kind of on the same page here. Well, okay,
reasonable.
Where do you? Well, I don't know. Where do you put because like obviously everyone clowns on the Ringers rankings, but it is fun to see Justin Herbert ranked really high every year.
I would rather have Herbert. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So probably then Herbert, and then where is Stafford level? Because I know that you put Stafford in. I'm not going to say rarefied
Stafford's
air,
like
but you
right
respect
after
him a lot.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like right after that. So I think he's in the conversation for right after that. I mean, he's such a gunslinger that like kind of looking for consistency and like the ebbs and flows of like the week to week quarterback rankings is going to be weird for that guy always, right? Mm-hmm. For Love, just because in his heart of hearts, man, he just wants to chuck that thing down the field. So
yeah, so I wanted to talk about that like a little bit. Yeah, so he's a pretty volatile quarterback. He's got a high tight window throw percentage. He's got a really high deep ball percentage. He loves taking chances with receivers who do not love paying him back for those chances. How do you see that going against a defense that like invites big play opportunities like the Vikings defense does?
I mean,
do you think we're going to see like a 20% deep ball rate this time?
Well, first time around, he had like 350 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and 3 picks. So
more of that, more fireworks.
I guess. Like, what else are you going to do against this defense, right? I mean, you want to make them pay. So,
a ton of teams don't. A ton of teams throw short because there's a ton of space underneath.
No, thank you.
I mean, I think the last I looked at it, early down run rates, the Packers are like second in the league
in terms of how often they run the ball. Mm-hmm. So, like, when they're throwing it, they're throwing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unless it's going to be like quick game and stuff. But like when they're going to take a shot, they know they're going to take a shot. And they've been pretty good after like the first probably month of the season in terms of protecting the quarterback. The first quarter against the Lions, the last time around, Zach Tom had his worst game of the season or the worst quarter of his career, I should say, against guys who are wearing numbers in the 60s. And that was very weird. But outside of that, the offensive line has been pretty steady from a protection standpoint. So like they can load up and throw. Jaden Reed, for being a smaller guy, is pretty good, like ball winner, I guess is the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. Romeo Doubs, I think Ben Solak put it best from the Ringer, where he was like, the level of difficulty that the catch has no correspondence with
whether or not he's going to have
whether or not he's going to bring it down. So like he's going to make some of the toughest catches you've ever seen and then just drop a random ball. Watson can clearly win deep but then drop that ball. I mean, you guys saw it week 1 last year?
Yeah.
First play of the game.
It ruined the first 8 games of his season. Yeah. He was gone.
Yeah, so and he's dealing with a knee bruise right now. It sounds like he's probably going to play, but yeah, but this one's new. It's not a hamstring this time, so
that's not better.
Nice. I guess. But yeah, so they're kind of weird because like all 3 of those guys, you can throw them deep balls, but whether they come down with them is a little wonky.
So it feels like a lot of teams are trying to avoid this. So Jordan Love is the 4th most blitzed quarterback in the NFL right now. And it seems like, based off of the PFF numbers anyway, that seems to be a relatively smart decision. He's got a lower yards per attempt when he's blitzed. He's got a higher turnover-worthy play rate when he's blitzed. He also just has more turnovers when he's blitzed. Is there something here? Is this something that is this a protection issue? Is this a Jordan Love issue? Is this an offensive design issue? Is there something to this?
I look at it from a protection standpoint, and I'm just like, if you're going to send 4, like the Packers are going to block you up. That's just kind of the situation I see right now. So sending blitzes, I think at least you can pressure the pocket a little bit. I mean, the success last game that New Orleans got, and that, New Orleans is a great example. Like, they're just getting a lot of like tip passes at the line of scrimmage because it takes, long. Love has longer arms and stuff, so it takes him a little bit longer to load up. And he certainly does load up when he's throwing deep. It's not like a Rodgers thing where the the ball just like comes out of his wrist, right, and just shoots out like a wrist rocket or something like that. Love is actually like loading up to throw, and sometimes the timing gets weird and you can get into the passing lane. So that's a thing. New Orleans historically has had just massive defensive linemen in terms of like their height and stuff. So I don't know if that's something teams can replicate. But I would say that's probably a factor. And then, just the pass protection. I mean, they hold up really well.
Is there an issue with like communication, or is it just it's just because the pass protection is really good on 4-person blitzes that you prefer, or 4-person rushes that you prefer the blitz, or is there a protection issue when you send 6 or 7? Maybe someone misses an assignment.
No, it's not really a communication issue. I mean, the only time that the team's really messed up and looked like a fish out of water this year, I mean, it certainly happened in the first half last year, but this year was, I think it was against the Seahawks, that drive right before the half ended, the first half. And LaFleur just basically tossed Love the keys. And Love, I think there was like a minute and a half left in the half, and they had 3 timeouts, maybe 2 timeouts, and they were only able to run 2 plays. And it's because Jordan was just checking into way too much stuff at the line of scrimmage, trying to get everything perfect. And LaFleur was like, all right, that's not happening again. So
enough of that.
Maybe 2-minute drills can get a little wonky, just based off of what they've shown recently. But outside of that, I'm not really worried about communication stuff. I mean, it's not like the Texans where they're just blowing protections left and right or anything like that. Slowick got crowned, and buddy, he might get canned. Like, this is not good. This is not good.
Well, I think they can fix the protections if they just move another tackle to guard. I'm sure that'll solve everything.
Oh yeah, the top 15 pick off of the bench. I got it. Smart idea.
So when it comes to Jordan Love's success over the last, season and a half, I suppose, is that more, do you think, a product of LaFleur, or is Jordan Love been this talented? He's just been wasted away on the bench starting his rookie year as a 3rd-string quarterback, whatever.
I think he's really good at in cuts. So like the Packers run so much stuff that's just like dagger variations, right? Where you're either running a guy off in the middle of the field, and then, your outside receiver is kind of just running that deep dig over the middle, or they run hitches with it too. And that kind of puts a constraint on the low zone defenders. I think the Packers are going about it the right way. I don't think Love is a guy that you want throwing the ball 1,000 times. I think running the football early on in the game and then just going off play action and having in cuts and stuff like that, on neutral downs, and then, passing downs, you really want to protect the edges. I mean, maybe only have 3 or 4 guys in the route combination early on, and have him load up and throw that damn thing, right? Like, I think that's kind of how you want to use him right now. I mean, he is a gunslinger, so he's definitely gotten way more consistent since like the first half of his first season as a starter. But I do give LaFleur a lot of credit, because it seems like they're leaning into what he's doing well, for sure.
That's a skill, I think. Let's talk a little bit about the individual offensive linemen. Is Zach Tom a top 3 right tackle? What's going on here?
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, I mean, that's what made the second Lions game so weird. If you watch that first quarter, I mean, he's getting beat up by like practice squad guys, and you're like, where the hell did this come from? We've never seen this out of Tom. And then that quickly vanished after like the first 2 drives, but was a weird little anomaly for a bit. Yeah, he's great. He's going to get paid a whole lot of money. Good for him. I'm excited he's on my football team for sure.
So, and then Sean Ryan, the right guard?
Yeah. So early on in the season, him and Jordan Morgan were rotating a lot. But then once Jordan Morgan went out with the shoulder injury, Sean Ryan was there full time. Ryan's been playing well. Myers is probably the weakest of the offensive linemen right now, which is not a surprise. I mean, if you've heard me talk about Josh Myers over the last 4 years, I mean, that's been pretty consistent.
So they wasted a pick with Jordan Morgan is what you're telling me?
No, because I think next year Elton is probably going to move to center, and then Morgan's going to play at guard is probably what's going to end up happening.
Is that switching sides from? Did he play on the left in college?
Morgan?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was full-time left tackle, never played snapped anywhere else.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. They threw a bunch of stuff at Morgan early on. I mean, I think the Packers do it right from an offensive line perspective. Like, they just, like, make you drink water through a fire hose like leading up to training camp. And then once you're in training camp, they're like, all right, we've made an evaluation. Here's what you're going to do. Like, they said on draft day that Morgan would potentially have competed at left tackle and all sorts of stuff. And they played him at every position through OTAs. And then as soon as training camp started, they were like, all right, right guard. Right guard is where you're going to rotate this year. We're going to have you learn one position. Yeah. So that's kind of where they've been. Their interior offensive line, like, knock on wood, like, they haven't had to really drop down for any of these guys yet. I think Kadeem Telfort is going to be the next interior offensive lineman off of the bench if someone goes down. But I think he's maybe played like 10 snaps this year in non-garbage time. So we don't really know what he is. Hopefully we don't get an injury there.
And then I'm trying to remember, Sheed Walker, he was like a huge high school recruit, right? And then he just didn't pan out that much in college.
Yep.
So what, is he good now? What happened?
He's solid. Yeah. I mean, they certainly developed him from, well, I think he was a 7th round pick, maybe a 6th.
Yeah, so, 7th.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly have gotten water from a stone there. I mean, you usually don't get a left tackle that late in the draft. He's doing solid. I do wonder what they'd be willing to pay him, but they're certainly fine with him at left tackle, at least as of right now, for sure.
I want to talk about tight ends in a second, but I do want to just really quick ask, like, so it's always been difficult to try and predict which wide receiver, like you already talked about the wide receivers a little bit, which wide receiver will go off for the Packers in any particular week. If you had a guess for this game, who would you pick?
I mean, probably Jaden Reed just because he's the better one.
Mm-hmm.
So
is he your wide receiver one out of this group of 4?
Yeah, but he's a slot only, so he's not out there in 2 wide receiver sets. So it's kind of a goofy situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when he's on the field, he's going to get the ball. I mean, I think it was the Lions game where Jaden Reed got like 1 touch, and then after that, the Packers were like, "Yeah, we're not doing that again." They're like, "We will figure out a way how to get this guy the ball." And since that, like, last week against the Saints, I think 10 guys got different carries. So like they're going to run. They're back into running auxiliaries and stuff like that. They'll give guys end arounds. They try to give Dontavian Wicks one of those Travis Kelce shovel passes at the goal line, running power and stuff like that. Didn't work, surprisingly.
Sure.
So yeah, I would say probably Reed, but yeah, it could be anyone. I mean, Watson, it only takes 1 play, right? So
right. So when did they realize that Tucker Kraft was the better? Which we've been saying for a while. When did they realize that Tucker Kraft was the better tight end?
When Musgrave went down last year, when he got the appendectomy or whatever it was.
Oh, it felt like they were starting the season this year with the. Am I wrong? It felt like Musgrave was getting a ton of play.
Yeah. But I mean, last year, Musgrave, because Musgrave was starting last year.
Yeah.
And then he had the appendectomy, and then I think that's when they were like, all right, we got to ride Kraft. Because I think they really wanted Musgrave to kind of be a complete tight end. They really wanted him to be the Y, like the hand in the dirt guy, which is a great thing to want, but I don't think was a realistic thing to get out of a rookie 2nd round pick who hadn't played much in college because he was always banged up, right? So I think the runway was pretty long. Musgrave ended up returning at the end of the year, and Kraft still was like the number 1 tight end on the team. So, yeah, Kraft is the number 1 guy. I mean, he does everything. If you look at like tight ends actually playing tight end and getting receptions from the tight end spot, he's super high on that list in terms of production.
You're not a huge Brock Bowers guy right now?
Brock Bowers is good. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I think they're relatively similar. Well, you can look at a guy like Kelce, and it's like that guy's playing receiver. Or a Pitts or Gesicki, whoever you want to say, right? Those guys are receivers where Tucker Kraft's actually a tight end. So I don't know how much they're going to use Musgrave. They just activated him off of IR last week. He definitely got some snaps last week, but it was more on the pitch count type of situation. So we'll see. We'll see how many snaps he ends up getting. I think Musgrave's best ability is still, being out there on like third downs, and because he's a guy who can, separate on in cuts and stuff like that, even against tight ends if he's split out wide. So I think that's definitely where, his strengths are shown.
All right, Josh Jacobs, how much longer does he got? Because this is obviously a great season from him. It feels like
how much counting down the days already.
Yeah, what's going on?
He's gonna be 30 eventually someday. Can't pay that guy.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
I don't know, but he's running hard as hell and he's breaking tackles like every single play. So I'm excited to have him. The Packers are paying Josh Jacobs, but if you look at like the year-to-year cap commitments, it's not that big in terms of guarantees. Like he basically got a signing bonus and that's it. Like if the Packers want to get out of his deal next year, they can do that. So
does it feel weird that it's just like it's just the one guy at running back now?
Kind of. Like the two guys behind him are running real hard. Like Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah, no, dude, I love Emmanuel Wilson, but like Jacobs is getting a ton of touches is really what I'm saying.
Yeah. I guess like one of the underrated things with Jacobs is like you don't realize that he's like 225 pounds or whatever he's listed at. Mm-hmm. With Aaron Jones, obviously, like you were always going to have a pitch count because the guy's like plain weight is like 180 pounds. So I guess it's less shocking to me. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the defense. Is Jair Alexander playing?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, dude. What's going on?
So he's played 10 snaps since midseason when he got injured against the Jaguars.
I heard he was a full participant yesterday.
But he's been a full participant in 7 of the Packers' last 8 practices. So
Okay.
here's what's happened. So we're recording this on a Thursday. He was a full participant today. Yesterday, they didn't practice on Christmas. The week before, he was a full participant in all 3 games, was listed as questionable, didn't play. The week before that, he was a full participant Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, they shut him down because his catapult numbers weren't where the Packers wanted him. Mm-hmm. I think the Packers are basically at the point where they don't want to rush him to the field until a big game, which this is a relatively big game.
We spent like 5 minutes pre-show saying this wasn't a big game.
Yeah, but guess what? It meant a whole lot more than the Saints on Monday Night Football without the QB1, RB1, and top wide receiver. So
okay.
On the relative scale, this is a bigger game.
Okay.
I think Jair plays this week, but they definitely have been wanting to play it safe with that knee. I think they just want him healthy for the playoffs, and him re-aggravating something in the Vikings game is like their worst case scenario. So I think he's going to start. The secondary is going to be weird. There's a lot of moving parts. Javon Bullard returned to practice today. If he comes in, he will play. I don't know if it'll be in the nickel where he's been playing recently or at safety, because it seems like Evan Williams isn't going to play. Keyshawn is their preferred outside cornerback opposite of Jair, but he's been playing in the slot because Bullard has been out. So there's a lot of factors in the secondary right now.
Wait, so Keyshawn Nixon is, because Arlads has him as a nickel corner, and obviously you got to trust Arlads.
He's a nickel right now because Bullard has been hurt. But
okay, but he normally would be playing on the outside.
Yes,
particularly because Jair has been hurt. But if everybody's healthy, and that includes safety Evan Williams, where's Keyshawn Nixon playing?
I think he's outside. So it would be
so no Eric Stokes.
No Stokes. Stokes is corner 4 right now, but he's been having to play.
Wait, was I right about Stokes a couple years ago? Is that what's happening?
Maybe. Yeah, in the long run, you've been right.
Yeah, Carrington Valentine's been playing actually like really good. For some reason, they've been wanting to rotate. So when Jair was out, but Bullard was still playing. Okay, are you following me so far? We have to do all these weird conditions.
Right. So Jair was out, Bullard is playing. Got it.
Yes. They would have Keyshawn outside, and then opposite of him, they were rotating Stokes and Valentine. And getting them both snaps. And Valentine was playing much better than Stokes. So,
all right. Okay. Safety. What's going? So Evan Williams is not playing. So what? They might not be playing. So was Zane Anderson? He was playing in the last game.
Yeah. So Zane got his first start in his NFL career. I think the Seahawks game was the first time he really played any defense in the NFL. He's mostly like a special teams ace type of guy. Whether or not the team will play Bullard at safety if Williams can't go, but Bullard can go, I think is a little up in the air. And that would put Keyshawn in the slot. So I think you have two options there. I think it's Bullard. Where does Bullard fit in? And then if it's in the slot, then it's going to be Zane. And Zane, they kind of hide in the post, and they let Xavier McKinney kind of play the low zones and stuff like that, which is not generally how the Packers play it. But I think that's probably the right way to do it if Evan Williams is out.
Xavier McKinney, a Pro Bowler this year, or All Pro this year? Sorry, Pro Bowler, All Pro this year.
All Pro? I doubt he's going to make All Pro.
Yeah, would you put him on the All Pro team this year?
No, I think they're better special teams players, but he's just like the guy the Packers media is kind of rallied around. I know he's the guy who gets the Pro Bowl votes for special teams for the Pro Bowl and stuff.
No, I'm talking about Xavier McKinney.
Oh, I thought you said Zane Anderson. I'm getting messed up with the Z sounds. Xavier McKinney is a first team All Pro. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, really? What's going on?
It has to be him and Kirby, right?
Yeah, it feels like, is this a down year for safeties?
Oh, maybe not a down year for Kirby Joseph and Xavier McKinney, though.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm not saying that's the only way they get in. I'm just saying I don't even know who I would bring up in the conversation to challenge.
Yeah, those two are running away with it. I mean, it certainly helps that they get the interceptions and stuff.
Yeah, but like we know, like when Trevon Diggs got all those picks, we knew like what the deal was, right? Like McKinney is playing well and also getting picks.
Correct. Yeah, I will say Xavier McKinney playing these low zones has put him in the run fit a whole lot more, and that is not the best thing that he does. Like he's not bad there, but there are times where you're like, oh, broken tackle. Didn't expect that.
Huh. All right then. So, and this is like a product of all these like rotating injuries you've been talking about. Okay.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about linebackers. So Cooper finally got to play the snaps that you wanted him to play the last time we talked, and that is going all right.
He is the one who is promised, dude. He is. Yeah. I mean, in my lifetime that I can remember, right? It's like Nick Barnett, like 1 year of Desmond Bishop, 1 year of Devondre Campbell.
Bishop was good, man. I really like that.
1 year of Devondre Campbell before it completely went off the rails. Mm-hmm. And then this Adrian Cooper season. Like that's when I've seen decent linebacker playing great.
That's true, yeah. So, you've been kind of in a parched desert of linebacker play, that's true.
Yes. It's not been good.
So. No, but he's playing more than decent, right? Or am I just box score?
Oh yeah, no, he is playing very well. He's getting like 2 TFLs a game, and you're just like, yes,
crazy man,
yes, dude. He came along so much quicker than I thought he was going to be, especially considering. I mean, he was basically a quarterback spy at A&M. He was hurt throughout the preseason, didn't play in the preseason. He's gotten injured, I think, twice during the regular season, like. Everything's set up for this guy to, basically take a redshirt year, his rookie year, right? And not only is he not doing that, he's winning I think he's won several Defensive Player of the Weeks so far this season.
Yeah. I was just talking about this on the Minnesota Football Party. He's won 2 this year, and that seems kind of cool. And then you realize, no, it's not rookie, it's Defensive Player.
Yes, yeah, no, he's been playing well, and that's one reason why I'm like. When people were like, Packers should, balls to the wall, try to avoid the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs. And I'm like, okay, Isaiah McDuffie isn't being caught in man-to-man coverage on a wheel route against Saquon Barkley anymore. Like, that's going to be Adrian Cooper's job, and I'll take that.
That is a lot of confidence.
He's fast. That boy fast.
Who's playing next to him? Don't tell me it's Eric Wilson.
All right, so this is the situation right now. So the Packers defensively, they match defense at like the highest rate in the NFL in terms of, if you throw 3 wide receivers out there, they're going to throw 3. I guess it's not cornerbacks because
but if you put out another receiver, they'll put out another defensive back.
Right, exactly. That's the best way to think about it.
Yeah.
In their base, right? Middle linebacker is Quay. Outside backers are McDuffie and Cooper. McDuffie's very good at stopping the run. He cannot do anything in the passing game. Mm-hmm. Miami and Detroit just threw glances behind him for 6 quarters straight. If you look at the second half of that Dolphins game through the Lions game, it's pretty brutal to watch. Cooper, we needed you bad in those ones, man. But so Quay's banged up, and when Quay is banged up, Eric Wilson is playing Mike. So yeah. He's the green dot. So that's kind of what you need to know. So follow the injury report on Quay.
Yeah, this again, dude. The Pack IR stuff is getting too much.
It's all knees now. It's like knees and ankles. It's not even soft tissue injuries. Last year it was all soft tissue injuries, and they sent Stokes and Watson to University of Wisconsin to get like tested and see like what their problem is with their hamstrings. Now it's all, if you look at the Packers roster, it's just ankle.
Jesus, man. It's like a turf thing, or what's going on? Like your practice field is what?
No, I think it's just helmets are hitting ankles. Like,
you guys stop doing that,
physics, man. I think it's a physics thing. Yeah.
All right.
I'm also injured, by the way. You know this?
You're also injured?
Yeah, I have a broken arm and a sprained ankle.
I didn't know this at all. How? What?
Tennis.
Okay, but how actually?
I was moving laterally for a ball, rolled my ankle, heard pop, pop, went down to the ground, stuck out an extended arm, and then ended up fracturing my radial head in my left arm.
Holy crap, dude. How long ago?
Yeah. 6 weeks.
Man.
My arm's honestly not that bad. I didn't know I broke my arm until like 45 minutes in. I thought I just like hyperextended it. I thought I blew out my Achilles at first, and then I grabbed my ankle and had to manually check my Achilles, and it was like, oh no, it's still there. I'm just very hurt. My ankle is already 3 times the size of what it usually looks like.
Didn't have your Achilles like wrap up like a window blind?
No, but when I felt and heard pop, pop, and I was like, oh,
yeah, it's your first thought is, yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
This is going to ruin the tour.
The tour? Geez, okay. Another Pack IR, I guess. Also an ankle.
Yeah. I'm on the boat. I got to wear high tops for like 6 months, they said, so.
To protect your ankles.
Yeah. I got to wear high tops for 6 months. That's what the doc said, so.
Couldn't happen to a better guest. Let's talk about the defensive lineman. Dude, this is great. Luke Braun gets like food poisoning earlier today. I hear you're injured today. This is rules. Everything's good. Merry Christmas to Arif. Pass rush looking better than it did at the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a product of them doing a lot more disguise stuff on the back end, honestly. Mm-hmm. They'll get into weird looks where, they'll present man and they'll drop, the nickel to trips as the deep half zone, and then the guy opposite of him on the line of scrimmage as the other deep half, right? Like they're doing chaotic stuff to get into cover 2 looks post snap, even though they'll present, middle of the field coverage, like cover 3 or something like that, or just straight up man pre snap. So I think that's definitely helping. They're confusing quarterbacks
I don't know if they didn't want to get into it early just because they didn't trust, defenders in the first month of a new system, especially since, their starters didn't play a whole ton, in the preseason, stuff like that. But they've gotten into it recently. They'll run inverted two, where it's, cover two, but the cornerbacks would be playing the deep zones and stuff like that.
Wait, both corners? Invert?
Both. They'll do half. They'll do both. Yeah. So, yeah, they'll do think of a cover three look, right? So the cornerbacks are off. There's a safety in the middle of the field, and they'll run double inverted two and have that middle of the field free safety be the Tampa pole runner.
Okay.
Very weird stuff.
Yeah.
They're throwing everything out there. I mean, ideally, this is a team that wants to be a cover three, a cover two team. They'll throw out every look possible pre-snap, but that's really what they want to do. They'll get into it off of very weird looks. They'll send the simulated pressures. They don't actually blitz that much in terms of actually sending 5 guys, but they'll send the nickel and then, drop a defensive end out, if that makes sense. They'll replace who the four guys going after the quarterback are, but they're not going to actually send 5 a whole lot.
That's interesting. So it's not about Kingsley Enagbare. Actually, now I heard his name on the broadcast, and I know I've been pronouncing it wrong the whole time, but whatever. It's not about Kingsley being a better pass rusher now than he was before because his production is up. It's because all of the stuff in the back end is confusing protections, forcing quarterbacks to hold on to the ball a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that.
Has he been getting better though?
So this is my point. I would say that that's fair, other than I think Gary's getting a little bit better. And then Brenton Cox is a better scheme fit in this defense than probably any of these other pass rushers, honestly. Not that he's the best pass rusher on the team, but in terms of you would want Cox to play in this defense. And Cox was just not playing until Preston got traded.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, what's happening on the interior of that pass rush? Are they primarily just setting up the edge rushers, or are they winning on their own?
They run a lot of stunts. They really do. They do a pretty good job in the run game. The Packers' run defense is actually taken a huge jump in terms of just, last year under Barry to this year. But in pass rushing situations, I mean, you'll get the double twists just from the defensive tackles where they just replace each other. You'll get a linebacker involved. You'll get slants. You'll get TE stunts. They move those guys a good amount. I think they came into the year thinking that they wanted to start TJ Slayton and Kenny Clark on the interior, just because those guys are, big bodies. But as they got further down the line, you're getting a lot more Wooden, a lot more Brooks. Wyatt has always been a guy who's been in the rotation. And that's just because, they like to use those 3 guys off of the bench as more, I guess, speedy defensive tackles who can kind of do some more of that lateral movement type of stuff. So, yeah, they're definitely going to put opposing offensive lines into predicaments for sure. A lot of it's manufactured.
And so you take a look at this. So let's say Jair Alexander's not playing. You take a look at this offense. You see obviously Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, the way that they set up. Seems like somebody like Edgerrin Cooper might do a decent job against either Hawkinson or Jones in the receiving game. Personally, I'd probably put him on Hawkinson. How exactly does this defense set up on most downs to anticipate what the Vikings generally do?
Well, they're going to present one high, right? They're going to present one high. They're going to match. I think the big thing is just it's going to be disguise and stunts. I mean, that's kind of how they're living right now because it's not like they have a premier pass rusher where they can just, 2013 Seattle Seahawks, right? And just have pass rushers across the board to get after the quarterback. I don't know how many guys they're going to bring from depth this week just because of how good Darnold's been against the blitz. I don't know if you guys have hit on this, but Darnold is 4 times as efficient from an EPA standpoint against the blitz than against 4-man rushes.
Yeah, it's funny and weird.
His AYA against the blitz is like 12, which is crazy. Like Rodgers' best season ever was 2011, and he was at 10.5. So like Darnold against the blitz is legitimately like a Hall of Fame level quarterback, like no doubt Hall of Fame, like potentially like best season ever type of quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I would think you would like to make Darnold play to his non-blitzing averages, which is 7.5 AYA, right? I mean, that's kind of like a league average-ish quarterback. So I would hope if they're going to send guys from depth, it's on simulated blitzes or simulated pressures and not actual blitzes where you're actually sending 5 guys.
Yeah, fair enough. Anything on special teams you want to talk about?
They've been pretty good, honestly. Waylon generally is a good punter. Every like 1 out of like 15 punts, something weird happens, but like it's usually just like, why did that ball fall 15 yards short, right? He does a lot of banana punts, which is fun. Banana punts are the ones where, you know, you're getting weird spin on it and the ball moves super late. So it's forcing a lot of fair catches late because, you know, returners are setting up and then the last, I don't know, halfway down the arc, right, the ball ends up moving 10 yards to the side. And that receiver has no idea where his return team or the coverage is and stuff like that. So he just ends up fair catching it. The return game, they've stopped stuff pretty well. I mean, that's probably what Bisaccia's been best at is just coverage on special teams. You know, during his entire tenure in Green Bay, McManus has been solid. Knock on wood. I mean, he's not missing obvious ones. He had that 50-yarder in the wind last week at Lambeau. Return game wise, like Keyshawn has been doing well. Like he's going to get to like the 35-yard line every single time. Whether or not you guys kick to us is going to be a interesting predicament. Teams have been kicking to him more recently. But yeah, it hasn't been consistent throughout the year. I mean, he hasn't gotten that many returns.
Yeah, fair enough. Probably won't. The Vikings are pretty strategic about that from my experience, is that they'll kick to some, not to others. Cool. So what are your predictions for the game? I think the Vikings are favored by like 1.5, something like that.
I think it varies by book. I saw someone say Green Bay was favored by 1 at least on one book. So I think yeah, that number I think depends on where you're getting it.
All right. So well, what's your number?
I think all right. Here are my biggest 2 worries about this Packers team. Okay.
All right.
And they're both on the defensive side.
Great.
They've gotten to a lot of disguised stuff since the Lions-Dolphins stretch because they were unable to stop these in-cutters. Okay?
Right.
They did it against the Seahawks and they did it against the Saints, and that is very different than doing it against the Lions and doing it against the Vikings. And we haven't had a data point of them doing it against a good team since then. So I'm still like cautiously optimistic about the team being able to stop those. I would like to see it done this week. The other thing is when they do stop these digs, it opens a lot in the screen game. And you guys killed us in the screen game the first time. And the Lions also did that to us. The Packers were able to stop the screen game against the Seahawks, but their screen game is a little bit different because everything with them is on the perimeter, right? I mean, the Seahawks want to be this spread football team. Grubb comes from, the college realm. JSN runs the most snaps out of the slot of anyone in the league by far. That's different than Minnesota doing it with Aaron Jones and, doing tight end checkdowns and stuff like that, right? So I'm a little worried there. I'm going to lean Minnesota on this one just because I haven't seen it yet. And at this point, it's week 17, right? I need to see it to believe it. Things have been trending positively for the Packers since that Lions game. Definitely. But I need some proof. I need some proof against a good team, and we haven't had the data points yet. So
yeah,
I'm coming into this leaning Vikings.
Classic Super Bowl pessimism from Justice there.
I'm being honest.
No, I get it. It's emotional hedging. It's kind of like a reverse coping. I get it.
I would like to win. I mean, all we get is a 5th seed out of this, and you have to lose against the Lions next week. But
yeah. Dope. Thanks for coming on. You are Vince McMahon's strongest soldier. For anyone who wants to check out how much that's meaningful, watch the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix. Where can people find you, Justice?
AcmePackingCompany.com. Your only source for Packers news.
It's the only place that covers the Packers. That's crazy.
The only place.
Yeah. And they still won't let you in the press room, which I think is, if there's only one outlet covering the team, you'd think, but.
Well, SB Nation won't pay for me to go anyway, so.
You live in Oregon. What?
They knew what it was. When they hired me, so.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. Peace out.
All right, see you.
Norse Code is the largest and only division of Norse Code LLC. You can find Norse Code on the Daily Norseman, SB Nation's Vikings blog at dailynorseman.com. You can also find it on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever fine podcasts are aggregated. Our Vikings blogger extraordinaire and generally useful human is Arif of... and he can be found on Twitter at ArifNFL. I am your producer and host, and my name is James Pagashnik. You can find me at the show's official Twitter feed at NorseCodeDN or at my personal account at BigMono. If you'd like to donate a few bucks to the show, you can do so in a couple of different ways. You can go to patreon.com/NorseCode and donate there. For $3.50 a month, you get bonus material and more. You can also go to paypal.me/NorseCode for a one-time donation, or you can go to norsecode.threadless.com and pick up some Norse Code merch. Any questions or comments that cannot fit in a tweet can be sent to norsecodepodcast@gmail.com. On behalf of the Norse Code staff, we thank you so much for listening.
Our formula is this.
All things are possible through the power of Ben DiNucci.